This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
They have done the work.
Years reading the news side by side from Channel 7, the incredible Rick Arden and Susanna Carr.
Good morning and welcome to Nova.
Back.
Rick and Sue.
You are, you don't even need your last names. You guys are like Madonna.
Yeah.
Like you are one name required
Now,
only.
let's get right to the branding. Was there ever a discussion about Sue and Rick?
Or Rick
Oh,
and
yeah, I
Sue.
think we're known both ways.
For me, it's a Rick and Sue. But probably because I watch Rick and Morty. You're Morty. So. But was there ever, branding-wise, you think, do you ever, say Sue first to get a headline?
Yeah, she does.
I think with our with the news it alternates, so
Yeah.
there's fairness somewhere.
And I was watching. So you were doing the news, and then Sue was brought in. Yes, as a female anchor, and it was huge at the time for this to happen because it wasn't the norm. How was that? Was it anchormanish? Was it like a woman can't do the news?
No,
was it
not
like
at
that
all.
at the time?
Of course
Or was
not.
it, what's she doing?
No, not at all. Sue was already established on the
I know.
ABC,
Yeah,
so we welcomed her with open arms.
Yeah. Anchor woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anchor woman.
Veronica Corningstone over there. Look at her go.
Yeah. So you were 19, Rick.
Not there.
When I started, when
you
Sue
started,
came
yes.
along, I was 26.
Yeah.
That is a very young age, and both of
and have
you
you
could
seen
be
the pictures
anchors.
of him?
Yeah, I have.
He
Yeah.
looked about 11.
I know.
That's right.
Yeah. But you had a man voice. When did your man voice set in? What age?
Well, funnily enough, I was in year 12 at school and I was a late bloomer. And so
Yes.
at school I still had a squeaky voice.
Yeah.
But by the time I matured, I started work at the West. And when I came on TV 2 years later, here's my schoolmates thinking,
Hang on, who's
bloody
that
hell,
guy?
how listen to that voice? It's gone a bit deeper.
I know.
That's amazing, really, for it to happen so dramatically
We
and
hear about
late.
people's balls dropping, but not into
Yes.
the cellar.
That's amazing. So literally you left school, started work at the West and then immediately just went on TV? Like,
No,
how did
I've
that
been there
happen?
for 18 months as a
No,
journalist.
but that is immediately, really, in television terms.
Well, I
these
guess over the
days.
course of 40 years it's immediately, but it
Yeah.
wasn't at the time. So I was very lucky. I cut my teeth in terms of the facts and reporting and
So
journalism.
it wouldn't
at the
happen
West.
now.
No.
You're not going to see a 19-year-old delivering the news.
MTV News or
Are
something
you?
like that.
Maybe, yeah.
So how old were you when you started at the ABC? You were pretty young too.
22.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Babies.
Yeah, I know, we were children.
So that's clubbing age.
That's us and Fat Cat.
Were you guys out? Were you out just like having a normal life of those?
Totally. I went to
absolutely.
university.
Really?
So, university is a normal life.
So
isn't it?
people would be out at a nightclub having a drink and having a dance, and then there was the news anchors from Channel 7.
Yeah.
Out
We're
there
on the
too.
dance floor bopping
Yeah,
away.
well,
That was
they
it.
finish work at about 7:30. Just keep straight on. Right? That's how it works.
Like, was it the feeding the reels in, or was it tapes? Where were we? What era
It
were
was
we in?
film.
Film. Yeah,
spliced.
Splicing.
Flown in from
was it.
overseas. News was always like yesterday's news.
Yes.
It wasn't today's news, whereas now it's like
Has that
moment.
changed?
That
The moment it's
24-hour
happening.
news
Yeah.
cycle is full on, isn't it?
What was TV like back in the day? Was
Were
it
there
just
perks?
Well, there was a time, particularly when Christopher Skase, the ill-fated Christopher Skase, owned the network, when we were all flown to a massive big show at the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And we all flew to Sydney, and then we all flew up from Sydney to the Gold Coast, and we all joked and said, if you want to take out the 7 network,
This is it.
just take this plane out.
one plane.
Because everybody was on that
If only they
plane.
knew back then what was happening today with the ratings.
And I had to laugh at that time too because there was Sandy Roberts and a few of the Melbourne sports people who didn't really know what Christopher Skase looked like. So I've rolled up there with Sue and they're very polite to me. I thought that's been nice. And they said,
they
afterwards,
thought you were
sorry,
Christopher
we thought you were Christopher Skase.
Because you do. You have that.
You
have
give
that.
off shonky millionaire vibes. That's
Unbelievable.
amazing.
People are going to see a special on you guys, which is going to be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious because of the fact that it's what is it? 4 decades of fashion. 4 decades of
yeah,
fashion.
sure.
I mean, you
Shoulder
don't notice it
pads.
so much with Rick's
But
outfit.
Sue,
A suit is a
mate.
suit. But Sue, you've been through it.
Dallas
Oh my
and
God.
Dynasty have called and they want their outfits back. It was like there was not one natural material on your body, and your hair, which seemed to
It's
be
been
a
through some stuff.
spiral permed mohawk situation, was
It was huge.
it was higher the hair, closer to God. They say
Absolutely.
yeah,
And wider too.
Yeah. How do you-
Natural curl, or was that...
Perms.
Yeah,
in the day of
back in the
perms.
day. Perms are back. My hairdresser told me this. Perms are back, but
no.
only for men. He said everyone getting a perm at his hairdresser is a man. Yeah, the guys are getting the curls on top.
What's one of the descriptive words? They're gay. It's
No,
one of man?
no, it's not
Okay,
gay.
that's great.
It's straight
Just
men.
straight men
Straight
want
men getting
curls.
perms.
Curls get the girls.
Yeah, so they say.
Isn't that right, Rick?
It's the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
There's an article in the paper that really caught my eye, Nat, and you're
Yes.
familiar with this. 2 Fremantle cafes had to shut down last week, actually.
And they're not just any cafes. It's the cafe at the swimming pool.
Yes,
and it's
leisure
the cafe
centre.
at the Fremantle Arts Centre, which is
A lot of people go to the Arts Centre now,
That is such a-
particularly on the weekends.
Yeah,
It's
right.
quite
so
iconic.
It's delightful. The courtyard there, it's so
Oh,
beautiful.
that's nice.
And now that you can't go there and have something there.
There's some
Well,
interesting cafes, aren't there, in businesses that you wouldn't really know about?
Yeah. Like the Arts. Yeah, absolutely. Owner Gavin Wilcock, look, he put it down to a slight increase in the prices of sweet treats. See, what he reckons is that he had to increase the prices of croissants and other cabinet treats at the Arts Centre by 20 cents
20
in
cents a
December.
pop. Yeah, and people complained
And
so
people
much.
went off their head.
Oh.
and
20
he
cents.
said he knew that he was going to have to raise the price of coffee because, of course, the cost of coffee's gone up, and he by at least 50 cents. And he went, people complain so much about a 20-cent extra on their croissant that I don't want to have to put up with
You
it.
know what?
I'm out. And closed like that. It wasn't like we're closing at the end of the month.
Yeah.
It was we won't be here tomorrow. It's
I
amazing,
feel for
isn't it?
these businesses because as a consumer, come on, it's going up 20 cents. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
20
Yeah.
And I know everyone's got their limit, but at the moment, you've got to realise a lot of these businesses have been absorbing those costs for a while to try and put this off. So when it's a 20-cent increase, that's not enough.
And there was so much whinging that he went,
So
no, I
much
can't even
whinging.
That's
face
not
it.
enough. But did it take it over? You know, when people like everything was like $3.99, so it wasn't $4. Did it take it over a mental price
It must have.
threshold?
I think a lot of us have got a mental price threshold.
Yeah, because there's
definitely.
this bakery in the city I've been telling you about, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I won't say their name right now because it's about the price, but this amazing custard filled croissant, right, on Uber Eats was $6.50, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing because these croissants are like usually $9. Then literally over a weekend, now they're $8.50.
Yeah, so
And
then,
now from that $2, even though I can afford it, I'm not buying one.
yeah, it's a mental block straight
I'm not
away.
buying it.
Yeah.
It's good time.
They hadn't even been there that long either because a year ago I was doing water walking at the pool because I hurt my knee. I was recovering from that, remember?
Yeah.
And there was no kiosk there. That
Yeah,
cafe
right.
hadn't opened yet.
Was
And
Dame
so
Judi Dench really
It was
shocked
only-
you? That was in the pool next year?
I made a lot of friends with old ladies
Aren't
with
they-
new knees, Nathan.
Aren't old ladies lovely? I had a friend at Danny Green's gym. She used to be on the exercise bike. I love old ladies. They're great. Sean, have you got any in your life?
No.
We digress.
Okay. But 20 cents, we're talking about just tipping you over the edge. You were
Yes.
just talking
20
about
cents.
the custard pastry, but there's sometimes you go, no, that's it. I've
So
had enough.
20 cents
It's
is
tipped me
tipped
over the edge.
It's tipped the customers over the edge, but the poor business owners, they've been tipped over the edge by one too many people whinging about
Complaining.
it.
He said they were all grumpy and I can't deal with it anymore.
You know what,
It's
though?
Just wants to
quote
be with
unquote.
happy people.
It happens in relationships too. You know what I mean? Because things build up, things build up, things
Yeah.
build up,
Yes.
and it could literally be,
Yeah.
he ate your twin pole.
And are we
Yeah,
are we
that's
really
it.
breaking
Yeah,
up because I wouldn't pick up my towel?
Yes.
Like, no, it's
Literally-
everything before that.
And people hanging on that excuse, but it's the build up to
Yes.
that. But I love that excuse. She left me because I ate her twin pole. I met a guy when I was
It
doing
sounds like
radio
a
around
euphemism,
Australia
doesn't it?
that his wife, his girlfriend,
Yep.
stabbed him in the back with her high heel because he brought a cornetto, what is it, the drumstick?
Cornetto?
A cornetto back to because she was pregnant. A cornetto back home, and then when she opened it, the comb was broken, and she got that enraged.
Well, that's his fault. So
See? It's those small things that
Yeah.
tip you over
So
the
this
edge.
is
It's the Nathan, Nat, and Sean podcast.
exciting times because there is a new show. You might have seen this advertised. It's called The Role of the Lifetime.
Yep.
It's 8:30 tonight on the ABC. It features Kate Ritchie
Yep.
and
Yeah.
Nazim Hussain, who are acting out
Yeah.
scenarios like a sitcom as parents. But then there is Maggie Dent, who is the
Maggie
parenting
Dent.
expert
Hey,
that
we
this
know
country
her.
loves. Good morning, Maggie. It's good to talk to you again.
How am I special Perth?
Oh, we missed you here. I thought you were coming in, Maggie. I was hoping for some
Yeah.
baked goods. I was
I
thinking,
know.
yes, I'm sure
Yeah,
Harvey.
and also a good kiss from Nathan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bit of a
always.
tonguey, bit of a tonguey.
Damn
Maggie, this is unbelievable. Just to watch your empire grow is amazing
Oh,
because it comes from
empire.
such a beautiful and honest and helpful place. So well done, baby.
Oh, what the little girl from the bush
I
and
know.
wandering.
No one ever thought she was going to make anything of herself.
No one's ever made it
I
from
know.
wandering.
Look at it go.
No, and well, hang on,
Jeff Marsh.
come on.
Hey, Swampy.
Pretty sure Stumpy did. No, I think the really big thing. I just wish they'd given me a TV gig when I was a lot younger. But
So what, like maths?
we know. No, not one of those. But it is confusing today. I mean, like I said, today's tweens and teens are living in a very different world to what their parents have had. So what might have worked back then, and it's like we've always had a generation gap, but this one's a chasm. And I wasn't going to say yes, but when I saw they were going to sitcom it so we can laugh like hell at the, oh, my God. And I worked it out later that most of the production team got teenagers. That's why they knew exactly what to put in the sitcoms. And you will laugh. And I think, seriously, we need to sit on the couch with our tweens and teens. And also, if you've got grandparents, because Nan features quite significantly.
Okay, that's really great.
Yeah.
And then we're going to cringe, we're going to laugh, and then we're going to have some really powerful information that we both need to know on how we can help our kids go over this big bumpy bridge to adulthood as safely as possible with being realistic that it's always been bumpy.
Yeah.
Maggie, Nathan said the empire is building, but the fact is your services are in demand, right?
Yeah, that's
so we're
right.
speaking to you. We see you on a lot of stuff these days.
You've got podcasts, you've got books, you have a website that's an amazing resource.
You've got the calendar.
But look how far I went back to you guys, and you guys probably got me all going, answering questions on the phone. No one was doing that with parenting.
Yeah.
No,
It's your fault.
Maggie, just another person we made money for.
Yes,
We'll get into the vanilla slice later.
Maggie, I'm wondering if you're worried that there's such a demand on, there's a great demand on you, obviously, and the common sense thing is something is really bizarre that none of us get through. But it seems like the parents are finding it really difficult with their
more
kids
than
these
ever.
days.
But I think it's because of that generation gap she's talking about.
Setting standards. So are you worried that we need people like you out there so much?
Oh, look, it is confusing. There's a couple of different reasons for it too, Sean, and there's just too much information. But I think we've oversold mental well-being, that you're supposed to be happy and zen-like all the time.
Yes.
And also that teenagers, now that I know how to tell them what to do, they shouldn't make mistakes.
Yep.
I think we forget the developmental.
Your phone just cut out a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
They're meant to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So adolescents are meant to push back, be argumentative, take risks, and anyone who's got boys will know all about that one particularly.
And we all did.
Oh, mate, we all did.
we all did.
What we do is go and Google, what do I do to fix it? Where in actual fact, it doesn't need fixing. It needs us to come alongside them going, oh, no, that's partly because your brain isn't finished.
Yes.
Yeah, how are we going to fix it together? Rather than, I think today, many parents are scooping in and rescuing their children from situations that they need to be able to stay in themselves. You need to know you don't always get what you want. You need to know sometimes you don't get invited to a party. You need to know that sometimes your pet dog's going to die.
Yeah.
You need
that you're
to
not
know
going to
that
win.
life turns up. That you're not always, all of those things. When we've overprotected them, teenage years is terrifying.
Yeah.
And we've had a big escalation in anxiety.
Yeah.
We've got an escalation in body dysmorphia and self-harm. And I think it's because we're actually too good and loving as a parent when they're
my
young.
God, Maggie, hands down,
Too
everybody
protective.
says that because it is.
Yes.
It's like no
It's the
one,
helicopter
everyone
parenting.
doesn't need to get a trophy. That's not the way life
That's
works.
it.
And I get really frustrated with it because I feel, and there are people that support him, but for me, the whole Trump thing, and that's taking over the world. The trend of that is taking over the world because I feel like the world has gone too woke, and the people that were teetering on the edge, even though they didn't want to vote for him or anything like that, they went, this is bullshit, we're going to go over here. And that's tipped the scale.
So, Nathan, we've had these conversations, and you've been strong on this, what we grew up in. And so we've had these conversations. So, and I'm the same. When you're parenting, you bend to...
Sean, we didn't grow up. We didn't grow up with children saying they were cats, and now teachers are being told to respect that. So that's the world that we're living in. You know what I mean? Transgender, sex, all that sort of stuff. I understand that,
but my answer would be no. You're not a cat.
Yeah, but that's the thing. but I've got a mate who was a teacher, and there was a child, and a couple of them actually, and this is here in Perth.
Yeah.
That identifies cats, and their mandate from that school is you must respect that, and that to me that is too far.
Don't. I'm quite with you on that one. There's no way you can be. We know there's different flows in the gender domain, and that's great. But no, I'm sorry, you can't be a cat.
You can't be a
Stop being-
cat.
I'm sorry.
You can like cats.
You can hate Mondays and like lasagna, but you're not a cat.
Sorry, Maggie, one more step.
One more step I think that we have to recognise. I think this captures it well with that sitcom experts, let's
Yes.
go back then,
Yeah.
is that every now and then they do a couple of things in the scenes where the actual tween and teen have actually got more information that's more accurate than what Nan and Mum and Dad do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes, you can't just expect to sit down and have a sex chat with a 10 and 11-year-old now because, over 40% have been watching porn. So
Yes.
it's not going to be
They've already
terribly
Googled
helpful.
it.
So
Yeah.
you watch porn
So we
together
have
and then talk about it afterwards as a family? No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But that's one of the things I think they do beautifully is that we both have to sort of sit there and work through some of these challenges because I can tell you now that if you want your tween and teen to become the sort of adult who can cope in our world, we need to basically have boundaries and there will be consequences and it's not a very
Preach.
pleasant thing, right?
Yep.
We need it isn't.
It's hard,
You're not going to
yeah.
get what
No.
it is, but
Yeah.
exactly you learn to respect boundaries outside of the workspace. And I think the other one is it is the digital space and the
Yeah.
damage and harm it's done to our
100%.
kids. And you can't even see it's happening because they're in their bedroom.
That's right.
100%.
We didn't grow up with it as well. We can't
didn't
connect
grow
to
up.
it because it was you're talking about the gap. Our parents had landline, we had landlines.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then that gap happened, and then suddenly the technology just went
Yeah.
gangbusters, and no one had
and
grown
look
up
at
with it. No one
pushing-
had seen what's going to become of it.
Yeah.
And it's a limbo.
Even if you had a computer as a kid,
Yeah.
and if you're from
Yeah.
our generation, it was in the family room,
and you were the
everybody could see what
only
you were
one on
doing.
the street that had
Yeah,
it.
and you had to take turns. Yeah.
And
And
I
that-
think the other bit is
Yep.
adolescence is an emotionally volatile time,
Yes.
and really they are psychologically more fragile than we can actually understand. And so they're living in a world that's showing them how to be awful and disgusting and the violence. And we know that those algorithms are targeting boys and girls differently to make
Yes.
sure they feel awful
Yep.
so that the big tech makes money.
Yes.
And I think we need to make them outraged because of that sort of thing. But I think what we do beautifully in it is we touch on all those big hot topics that parents are confused.
Yeah.
And also, sadly, they don't have time to read my books because I write such fat books, even though they have a good index. So if you've got a teen that you're finding difficult, help me help my teen. I give you
Yeah,
the
that's a good one,
script
Maggie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your books aren't fat; they're
on
big
how to
boned.
talk.
Yeah, don't fat shame your
I think
books,
what it is.
please.
I think what it is the outside world can now get into your house so much easier than in our day because your
Yes.
parents were the guardians.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
they're not anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Meg,
I think the bit that I loved about the balance, so that we can laugh at a sitcom, but I love that we land back on a slightly older teen and their voices on how they see the world,
Yeah.
what they think their parents are doing okay. And I think we need that too, because most parents are doing a great job but feel like a lousy parent because, they got yelled at last night or the door slammed in their face or the
Yeah.
rolled eyes. That's actually kind of normal behaviour for an emerging adult.
yes.
You're not doing a lousy job and your kid's not lousy,
Yep.
and that you only have to get it right around 30 to 40% of the time and they're still going to end up okay.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
geez,
all right.
thank
And,
God.
That's good,
So
Sean.
we can't wait. That's going to be tonight, the Role of the Lifetime on the ABC at 8:30. But also you're headed to Perth to do another
am.
speaking event, Meltdowns to Precious Moments,
Yeah,
on
we're
March
doing that
20.
one for the ones with kids under 8 who
Yes.
are wondering about all those tantrums and the way they won't
Yeah.
need to bite and they never listen and toilet, all the things that push our buttons when they're
Big
younger.
feelings.
You better come in, Maggie.
Big
If you want
ones.
someone to act
Oh,
out the
I
tantrums,
am.
Sean and I will be there on stage if you'd like. We'll act out the
If
tantrums.
you want to get tickets to that, it'll sell out. They all do. MaggieDent.com.au for all of the details.
Thank you.
Nathan, Nat, and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.